Hey guys, what's up? It is Hannah, and I have my sister today, Simone, and we are here on the Royalty to talk about The Amazing Race Season 38. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is an all Big Brother season of The Amazing Race. So, this is the epitome of two worlds colliding on CBS, and Simone and I are here to give you all of the inside scoop, all of the behind the scenes on your favorite Big Brother players as we tackle traveling around the world versus being locked up and losing our minds in a house. So, today, our special guests are two people who are very, very special to Simone and I. We met them about 4 years ago at this point. Now, Simone and I watched Will's season of America's Next Top Model back in the day. I was in middle school. Simone
Girl.
was in elementary school. We loved him on that. To meet him in person and to meet his husband, James, was so surreal for the both of us. And I think we've just continued developing our friendship and our relationship over these years. We have fallen in love with them and their kindness and their spirit, and they have truly been a huge part of our journey on The Amazing Race. So, welcome, Will and James, to the Royalty.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That was such a beautiful intro. And
Thank
Hannah,
you.
you're such a natural.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you, thank
Girl,
you.
the other day when we were watching the episode, Simone goes, I was 10 years old when your season of Top Model. I think I had like a heart attack. I was like, I feel, I don't know, insanely old.
No, but like we're OG fans. Hello, I was in elementary school. I was in middle school.
That is wild to me.
Yes, 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 yes. But Will and James, welcome, welcome, welcome. Simone, do you have any words you want to say? I don't want to steal the thunder.
Oh, not at all, Hannah Banana. I feel like I couldn't have said it better myself. So I feel like that was perfectly poetic.
Okay, now I do want to tell the story of us going to Simone's dance show because
Please.
I think that just highlights how supportive of friends Will and James are. So, Will and James, do you guys want to kind of explain how we found ourselves on a college campus? The three of us being the oldest ones in the room, you two being the tallest ones in the room, and us going so hard.
Yes!
We were. Okay, so whenever Hannah comes into town, we always like to grab a drink or grab food or whatever. And so Hannah was in Malibu getting ready to go watch Simone. And so, oh yeah, we'll drive over there. We'll go have a cute little dinner before you go watch your sister. We get there and we're having a great time. Like, oh, we don't want this to end. Let's go. Let's keep hanging out. She's like, okay, y'all come to my sister's dance show. So we follow Hannah to the dance show. And
But it wasn't like just a dance show. Like, it
like
was
your
like a battle of the
sorority.
sorority, fraternity.
Yes.
Like, it was like,
This was like a
Greek
movie.
life.
I think you can dance.
yes, it was
It was-
Greek life.
I don't think I understood what we were getting ourselves into. And then they started performing and we got a little too
We were into it.
We were
No
very
such thing.
opinionated.
Which
We
was
were,
better.
yeah.
We should have been judges. They should have paid us.
No, it was truly so bad because me, Will, James, we were off to the side. Again, Will and James are the tallest people in that room by far. The three of us, probably a decade older than the next oldest person in that room. And we were like, who are like turning to the people next to us, so who are you rooting for?
Yeah.
If it wasn't Simone's sorority, we'd be like, loser!
Yeah.
Like, and then, do you
But
remember?
if you're watching this and you were in another sorority, you killed it.
No, everyone obviously delivered, but like,
Yeah.
you,
Very impressive.
Yeah, you
Delivered more.
played. Yes.
Everyone was
Absolutely.
great. Simone was just greater. But something else that I want to talk about is you guys went over to Simone's apartment to watch this
Yeah.
week's episode of The Amazing Race. What was that like watching it all together, and who else was there?
It was so much fun, and obviously we went to the premiere party, which was loud and so many people, so it was nice to be in a more intimate space. So Simone, thanks for having us over. And we got to watch it with
That's
Rubina
amazing.
and Christine and Taylor and Kyland.
And Simone.
And your roommate was there as well. So it was really nice to all be together and hear some more behind the scenes, like what really went down and how chaotic it actually was.
Well, I also just really love hearing people's stories because, as we all know, they show each team for maybe
A
2
fraction.
minutes.
Yeah.
3 minutes on an entire episode, and so hearing what was actually going on from all the teams and then watching all of you kind of like share your stories with each other because none of you know what was going on with the other teams. It's really fun to hear everybody's experience. I love that part of watching the race with people who are on the season.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And
Fun.
is that something that you guys did when your season was airing?
We
Season
tried our
32.
best. Yeah, we definitely tried our best, but with the pandemic, unfortunately, we weren't able to do as many
Mm,
viewing parties as we would have loved to because we as a cast were like planning all these things out,
Sure.
but obviously the world had different plans for us. But we did virtual viewing
Yeah.
parties, we did social distancing viewing parties, and then for the finale episode we actually went back to New Orleans with our parents and were able to kind of
oh,
retrace the steps of our final leg. So
Yeah.
we made the most
oh
of what we
my
were given.
gosh.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And you guys filmed in 2019, right?
18.
18, yeah.
2018. But because of the pandemic, when did your season actually air?
October of
2020.
2020. So
Yeah. It
two
was a
years
full
exactly.
Gosh.
a full 2 years pause.
That's absolutely wild. Wow. That's
Yeah.
so interesting. Okay, well, let's get into this episode. What was it called? Mom's gonna have the willies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Courtesy of Tucker. Listen,
That
the
was funny.
Deloriers are nuts. They're nuts, but in the best way possible. Okay,
Yes.
so how do we start this episode off? We rip. Okay, well, we have to talk about the money, Simone, because
Yes.
so Simone and I ended the first leg in seventh place. Somehow we were able to go from, I think, like ninth place to seventh place, right? Because we got to Flowers after Taylor and after
Mm.
Joseph, but we left before them, and so we jumped a couple spots. We ended up right in the middle of the pack, and honestly, Simone and I were not mad about that placement. We knew that we were a strong team when it came to memory, when it came to dancing, singing, languages. Like we have all these strengths, and we didn't want a target on our back because of that. And so I think ahead of time, Simone and I were very content about being perceived as a strong enough team, but not too strong. Now, I will say, the Amazing Race humbled us. So us being in the middle of the pack, that was not by choice. Like, it was a struggle to get
Yeah.
there.
But we were still
Um,
able to like jump a few octaves up.
yes, 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 yes.
We
Okay.
octavated.
So we ended in seventh place. We get to like where we had the pit stop the following day to start the second leg. And for those of you who don't know, there's money that they put in your clue. And that is like the budget you have for the next leg, whether that be taxis, food, etc. And so Simone and I rip open the clue, and then the money goes flying. And I kid you not, for 5 minutes, we were chasing the money
Yes.
around Museum Plain. So Joseph and Adam, they start 5 minutes after us. They get to the train station before us because Simone and I
Because
were
we're too
literally.
busy trying to catch this
Yes.
money. It's like, like when you're little and you have like those birthday parties at like Brunswick Zone or like an amusement center and they have that booth.
Oh,
that you
yeah.
try to catch the money.
Yes.
Like that, except Amsterdam was our booth. So we were just trying to walk all around the grass.
That's
trying to catch this
hilarious.
money.
And we were like enlisting the locals too. We were like, someone stop that money, stop that money.
That is
That's
so
so funny.
funny.
Yes.
How much money did you get? So one thing that they used to do on the race was like highlight how much money people would get.
Yeah, they would
per
show
leg.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't
don't
do
do
it
that.
anymore, and I think y'all's season is a little different because I feel like it's a lot of self-driving, and less taxis because you're all in Europe. But like, how much money did you get for these first two legs?
Yeah, so from each or from leg to leg, it obviously differed, as you
Yeah.
guys know, depending on where you are. For the first leg, Simone, I want to say we got, was it 100 or 200? I think it
Ooh,
was
I
100.
can't remember.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it was just 100 because we only needed two taxis, and that was to get from the express pass. Simone, would you mind muting your laptop? It's really loud. No, that's okay. That's okay. What was I gonna say? For the very first leg, we only needed taxi to get from the express pass to the starting line. And that was just like down the street. And then we needed a taxi to get from Flowers back to
Mm.
Amsterdam. So I want to say it was 100. I think for this leg, I lied, guys. I lied. I completely fibbed to you. Let's switch. For the first leg, we had 200. For the second leg, we only had like 60.
Yeah.
Because the second leg ended up being just running. Like, we didn't
Ah.
actually need money for anything except for food. But for that first leg, because we ended up using two taxis, and that last taxi was pretty long. It was from, like, the countryside of the Netherlands back into Amsterdam. We needed a bit more money for that. But as you guys know, when you get that money, they don't tell you exactly what you're going to need that money for. So that kind of plays into the sheer exhaustion and just like hullabaloo that was associated with the second leg. Because when I tell you, I don't think I have ever had a crazier time than I did on the second leg, and I can't wait to get into it. But Simone,
Yes.
Simone, do you kind of want to break down what happened after we finally got a hold of our money with the help
Yes,
of
well,
some locals and pigeons?
speaking of money and speaking of food, one thing that I really got a kick out of that Will and James shared was the Wolfgang Puck story.
Oh, I
Would you
know.
guys care to
Yeah.
share with
So-
the class?
Leg money is also obviously very important. Like you said, you got to budget it out. It's like a set amount for you to kind of prepare your journey.
Yeah.
And when we were flying on the first leg from LA to Trinidad, we had a layover in Houston, and it was a pretty lengthy layover. So you obviously wanted to try to get some food. And Haley and Kaylin decided that they were going to splurge a little on
I don't
the
think they
first
like.
leg.
I don't think they thought about
Well,
it.
hello, Wolfgang Puck. Like, that's not cheap, especially airport food. Like, airport food's expensive. So, like, take Wolfgang Puck prices and then double it with, like, airport. They
Yeah.
bought spaghetti, and they ended up blowing, I think, a lot, if not all of their leg money.
I think the first like we may have gotten like $100, and
Yeah.
I think they spent $60 on food at the airport.
Yeah. So then when we land in Trinidad, we have to take
pay
a
for a
taxi,
taxi.
to the fruit stand for our
Yeah.
first clue, and they didn't have the money, but you know, they were so charming, and
Yeah.
they got a lot of the taxis kind of free.
Super cute.
While we were
But
in
they
Tobago.
learned real quick. We got to save our money.
Yeah.
Wait a second. So how much money did you guys actually end up spending that first leg? Do you remember?
We had
Well, we never spent money on food. We were so frugal. So
we
probably
split
had
like a burger from Burger King.
not until like
Yeah.
like 7.
$3.
Yeah.
I don't remember. We had a taxi to go from the airport,
And we had a taxi in Tobago when we went to the pool.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 taxis. So that it also wasn't like super expensive, but I think we used probably at least half of the money. So more than enough.
The money component is stressful as a racer, and
Yeah.
it's interesting that you don't see that as much in the edit. But definitely in the earlier seasons, it was drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Simone was telling me about Colin and Christy and how Colin in his first season with Christy, I guess he was just being stubborn and didn't want to pay the taxi. I was under the impression that they didn't have enough money
Yeah.
for a taxi, and
I
then
thought
they ended
that
up.
at first until I rewatched it as well and realized like,
Oh.
that was just Colin being Colin.
Yeah.
But then they ended up getting thrown in jail, and
Yes.
Simone and I were like, we don't want to go to jail.
Yes.
So we were also pretty frugal when it came
Yeah.
to budgeting, and our dad was so happy. He was like, oh, I'm going to send you girls to The Amazing Race every year. How do I sign you guys up? But Simone, you and I don't think ever ran out of money. We always had plenty of money left over, and that's because like her and I would split chicken nuggets from McDonald's and like turn that one meal of chicken nuggets into our dinner and our breakfast, even if that meant we weren't eating very much. And we definitely didn't have to do that, but you just don't know what you are going to need to spend that kind of money on. So I wish that the race still showed that component because that is such a big factor. Okay, so Simone, we finally get a taxi where we get our money. We're in this taxi. We're on our way to the train station. We know we're going to Prague. And Simone, what do you know about the Czech Republic?
Oh, yes. I remember this so vividly how in middle school I had heard the song Bohemian Rhapsody for the first time by Queen, and I was like, Bohemian? What is that? And so then I looked it up, and for some reason it just stuck with me. And like my whole orchestra class looked it up, and then it was like, Bohemian Rhapsody is based off of like something in the Czech Republic, like the King of Bohemia or something. So that fact really stuck. And so going into it, the one thing I knew was that Bohemia was associated with the Czech Republic, like in Bohemian Rhapsody.
I love that.
See,
Guys.
very knowledgeable.
It didn't come in handy with the challenges, but still a great fun fact.
But it gets fun when like real world facts or experiences come into play, and you can kind of apply it for The Amazing Race. It was a good fact. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And part of me did think that we would maybe have a singing challenge because of Bohemian Rhapsody. But we get to the train station, and this, I swear, Will and James, is when my life, I think, just flashed before my eyes. But it wasn't even a flash; it just continued flashing up until the end of the leg. Like, it was so bad. Okay. So we pull up to this train station, we pay our taxi, we're on our way to the Czech Republic, and then we realize it's like 1:40 or something like that because we spent so long trying to chase down our money in Museumplein. So our like start time is 1:12, it's 1:40, the train leaves at 2, and we're thinking we don't even have our tickets yet. We don't know where the train leaves from. We don't know where the platform is. This is going to be hard to do. Thankfully, we see Joseph and Adam. Simone and I are not very aggressive people. Simone and I are definitely willing to wait our turn in line. Please, thank you, good morning, how are you, how are the kids doing? And like, you can't be like that on the race. You do have to be a little more aggressive. Thankfully, Joseph and Adam were willing to do that, so Simone and I didn't have to. So Adam, like, there's a line, but he just shouts, like, is this where we buy tickets to Prague? And they were like, no, it's going to be all the way around the building, other side. So we were like, okay, thank you. Now we're running to the international terminal, if you will. And there's this long line. You have to, take a number so that you can be called. Mm-hmm. And we were like, we don't, like, it's 1:43 at this point. We don't have that kind of time. We see Rubina leave. We see Chelsea leave. We see Natalie and Steph leave. Mm-hmm. So we know that they have their tickets to go to the train. They're like, oh, good luck, guys. But we know they're secretly probably like, we hope these two teams don't make this train. And so Simone and I were like, well, what do we do? And Joseph and Adam just start asking everyone, like, we're in a race for $1 million. Can you guys please let us skip you in line? And people were like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Like, they were really nice about it.
Well, also, so sorry to interrupt, is when it was a bit of a catch-22 / a double-edged sword, because every time you would have to ask people, even if we just asked the whole class, we would have to ask each one of them to sign release forms. And so even though, like, some of them would say yes, even if they would say no, that would, in a way, delay us slightly because, again, they would still have to sign the release form. So going into it, we really had no idea which end of it would get us faster. If we had to ask them, they would let us skip. We would still have to wait for them. Or if we didn't ask them, we would still have to wait our turn. So that also played into the chaos and the hullabaloo of it all.
Hullabaloo, this word I love.
I love it.
It's like
our dad says it all the time.
It's where we had our first date. It was
where we had our first
Hullabaloo.
date. It was a diner called Hullabaloo Diner.
Yes.
Wait, no
way.
Did
you guys ever watch the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I have not seen it yet.
No.
Oh my gosh. Wait, you guys totally should. Well, I think, like, Leonardo DiCaprio, he sang a song, like, about the diner, and he did, like, a whole dance, so I have a shirt.
Yeah, now I have to watch it.
Yeah, just for that scene,
No
but
way.
the whole other movie is good, too.
Yeah.
Okay, so question for y'all. How many teams were in front of you? Like, did you know who was already there, who had tickets? You already knew what train you needed?
Yes.
Like, did you have that information kind of going into it? Like, you didn't have to search for the train timing?
So here's the thing. We knew that there were 6 teams in front of Simone and I. It was Tucker and Eric. It was Jag and Jazz. And then Rubina and Christine, Chelsea and Jack, Natalie and Steph, and Izzy and Paige.
Yeah.
And our clue, because they give you the clue that you read for TV, but then they give you a sheet that has like the details, what you can do, what you can't do. And it specifically said you can't take a train before this time. So we knew that the 2 o'clock train was the first train that any team would be eligible to take.
Hmm.
However, we didn't know where the platform was. So that in itself was stressful because we knew we didn't know where we needed to go. We just knew what we needed to do, if you will. But kind of going back to us being in that international terminal, we're asking all these people, can we cut you? Can we cut you? But we also have to get them to sign releases. So the crew was really good about like multitasking,
Yes.
Yeah.
you know, getting them to sign releases as we were, you know, continuing to acquire our tickets. And then the lady at the front desk was like, just go, just go, just go. Like, who even cares what they say? Just go, cut. And we were like, oh, thank you so much. And Joseph and Adam were like, we will just get your guys' tickets because that will save us time.
Yeah.
If we were to do one transaction and you guys were to do a separate transaction, you girls will not make the train.
Yeah.
And so the crew was like, we don't know if that's allowed for like one team to buy everyone's tickets. But they ended up just saying,
Tickets
we'll figure
on
it out
us,
later.
yay.
Yeah, they were like, we'll figure it out later. Just get the tickets. So at this point, it is, I think, 1:56. So we have 4 minutes to get on this train, and we still don't know where the platform is. We just know we have to get the 2 o'clock train. And we were like, where's the platform? Where's the platform? And she was like, oh, it's platform 8. And we were like, okay, that means nothing to us, but we're going to try to find this platform. So then we run to the wrong platform. We run to like platform 2. And because we just take the first left and we're running up these stairs. I don't know why we did that. I think we were just stressed. And then I see platform 8 from all the way across the station. We're like 6 platforms back. And at this point, it's 1:58. We have 2 minutes to get there.
Oh my God.
So we were like, let's just book it. And then I see this like shortcut. And I was like, wait, guys, we can actually get there faster by doing this. So then we like hopped the ramp. Everyone was like hopping the turntables. Adam had all of the tickets in his hand and he was scanning tickets. Everyone got on the train at the very last second. Like you can literally see the doors closing and the train moving as we're doing our group
it's
hug.
like the scene from the Polar Express where the guy with the nightgown is like galloping like in the snow trying to catch the train and then like he hops on was literally us.
Yes, like I have never run that much in my whole entire life, and I also have this condition called hypohidrosis where I don't sweat. At the same time, I'm very cold intolerant, but like I just don't sweat. I did actually break a little bit of a sweat.
Okay.
That's how you know. That's how, and only the Amazing Race can get
Right.
that out of me. I didn't break a single sweat on Big Brothers. No sweat, no tears, and no blood. But on the Amazing Race, I can't say the same.
That is hilarious. I also like, it's funny because that is incredibly dramatic. However, I don't think that's the most dramatic part of this entire train experience.
No.
I feel like it set the tone though, because even in the edit, like the 4 of you running through the turnstiles together and trying to scan the tickets, like I felt like that was just like the beginning of the chaos that was about to ensue.
Oh yes.
Exactly. And Will and James, did anything like this happen with your guys' race in the sense that were you guys ever like super pressed for time? Or just in a pickle with traveling, or was it for the most part pretty like smooth sailing?
The only time we took the train was from Paris to Berlin.
But every leg I felt like every leg was practically an equalizer, and we never were really pressed for time because of how the staggered starts were.
Yeah.
And most legs, we love Haley and Kaylin, but they were like sometimes like an hour or two behind the second or four, this from the second to last team. So we would all be at a train station or an airport
just
for
waiting
hours, and then they casually would stroll up looking for completely refreshed and well slept, and then just boarding the plane or the train while we were all waiting. So ours was a little bit more, I don't know if controlled is the right word, but it was definitely probably that. It felt very controlled and civilized throughout our season.
And so, go ahead.
Also, so sorry. Well, I guess kind of like teeter-tottering on the topic of like your guys' travel and especially seeing the sisters, since they are like loved watching them since they are like cats with 9 lives. What was going through both of your heads every time you would see them? Like, realistically, were you like, how is this happening? Or were you like, oh my gosh, like, thank goodness they're here, or a little bit of both?
What's interesting is, like, if it was any other team, we probably would have a stronger opinion maybe, but like with Haley and Kaylin, like we loved racing with them.
Yeah.
Like whenever we did have moments where we were in the same space, like we had such a good time with those girls. Like we were always laughing with them. So I mean, sure, in a competitive standpoint, whenever a team gets saved, it's like, well, darn it, because that's like, another round where we don't have a non-elimination lag, and now they took that. That was more the feeling of like, well, now these non-eliminations are kind of withering away, and we may never get the opportunity to be saved by one. But outside of that, it was Haley and Kaylin.
So there was a period of time where from Brazil all the way through past Berlin, maybe we didn't see these girls for 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
We did not see them for 7 days as we were running the race. And granted, the race is only 3 weeks.
The last time would have been when we left the Paraguay airport, because then they got lost to the orchestra. We never saw them there. And then we were on a separate flight from Paraguay to Paris. Never saw them in Paris. Yeah. So we didn't see them until
we didn't know what was going
Paris
on.
Train station going to Berlin.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Like they literally had 9 lives. Nobody knew who was safe and who was out, and then they come strolling in, and we're like, y'all again?
No, that's so real because of the staggered like starting times, you really can just go days without seeing a certain team or multiple teams, and I think that's part of the reason why Simone and I got close to the teams that we did, just because we saw more of them.
Right.
And the nice thing about traveling by train is we were allowed to film on trains, meaning we were allowed to talk and we were allowed to bond. Whereas when you're flying, you can't film on an airplane. And so they put you on ice, and you can't use that as an opportunity to further forge your relationship with other teams. At least on our season, we couldn't. I'm not sure about like pre-COVID, but okay, so we finally get on this train with Joseph and Adam, and they didn't show any of this, and I get that because so much was happening this episode, but the four of us sat down and we were like, listen, we're 2 pairs of siblings, we're around the same age, we come from very similar backgrounds in terms of the way that we were raised. Joseph and I have known each other for 3 years at this point. Joseph knows Simone well, I know Adam well, so we were like, it just makes sense to work together, and they're very smart, very, very intelligent men, but they're also more physical than Simone and I are, and so we were thinking, okay, their strengths can balance out our weaknesses, and we're also pretty good when it comes to the artsy stuff, so our strengths can balance out their weaknesses. So the 4 of us solidified something. We were like, okay, it's the 4 of us till the end. And then we see Jack and Jazz on the train, because when we first walked in, we saw Natalie and Stephanie, and we were like, okay, let's just like lay low, because we don't want all these teams knowing that we're on the train. So we were like, let's just stay back here. If a team happens to, find their way to the back of the train, then we'll say hi, we'll be cordial, whatever. But like, let's just figure out a game plan for what we want to do and how we want to approach these other teams. Or do we just like rely on the element of surprise? So then Jack and Jazz make their way to the back of the train, and we're like, yay, okay, so now it's the 6 of us, ride or die.
Well,
yeah.
I was gonna say, well, then what happened? Because when you guys got off in Germany,
yes, it was.
You did not get the benefits of Joseph's quick thinking of, hey, we found an 8 a.m. train, a train that gets in at 8 a.m. And then Jack and Jazz and Natalie, I feel like it should have been y'all in that group.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
Yes. Okay, no, great question. So Jack and Jazz come to the back, and us 3 teams are, I guess, in alignment when it comes to we all feel really good about one another. So then we eventually, production was like, you got to go to the front of the train. So we were like, okay, we'll go join the other teams. And then we all just get so excited.
Blessing. Yeah, and like they were so excited, and we all had such an amazing time. Like, chatting with them.
the downtime on the race like that are the most special parts of the
Yeah.
experience because
Yeah.
you really get to bond with the other teams and yeah. So I'm glad you guys moved to the front of the train.
Exactly. I mean, from the perspective of a racer, we definitely let that distract us. I think all of us were very distracted. We were just so excited to be with one another. We were talking about our experiences on the first leg. And then, we get to Berlin. I think it's Spandau, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's the name of the train
Mhm.
station. And all we see is Berlin. We know we're getting off in Berlin. In America, you wouldn't have multiple train stations with
Right.
the same name, but like a differing second name. So
Mm-hmm.
we were like, okay, this is our stop. Now, we did know that we were getting off at the very last stop, and the fact that there were still people on the train should have clued us in that this is not your stop. But again, I think one team was like, okay, this is it. And we were like, okay, yeah, we're just going to follow you.
Yeah.
Bad,
Yeah.
bad, bad move.
It was
Herd
kind of like a
mentality.
hive mind.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Absolutely. But it also brought me, at least solace, to know at least all 8 teams are in this situation. And it's not like it's 4-4
Yeah.
and we're all of a sudden at this disadvantage. Um, so all of us are kind of running around trying to figure out a game plan. We could not find a ticketing office. I think you had to leave the train station
Mm.
and enter a separate building. Now, something that I do want to, I guess, call attention to is I think a team of 2 men or even a man and a woman would maybe feel safer leaving a building when it's pitch black out. Simone and I just I know we had security following us at all
Yeah.
times, and I know we had our camera guy and our sound guy, but there were times where I was like, this just doesn't feel
Yeah.
right. I would rather stay where there's light, where there's people, and not kind of wander off because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we are 2 young women in a foreign country. We don't speak the language.
Yeah.
So Joseph, Natalie, Jag, they all wandered off. They found this earlier option. What they failed to mention in the show was that option required them to take 8 separate trains. Europe is notorious for train delays. And so if one of those trains is delayed, you're screwed for the rest of your travel day. Simone and I were not going to do that. So we decided, like, yes, they were projected to get there an hour in advance, but there's so much could have gone wrong with
Yeah.
them having to switch so many times.
Yeah.
So Simone and I, we decided to stay with the majority of the teams. Also, we didn't know what was happening with the 4 teams behind us: Angela, Turner, Taylor, and Kat. But let's just say those 4 teams were able to get there before us. I think Simone and I were thinking our shot may be better of racing with the 5 teams we're
Yeah.
with than only racing with Jag, Joseph, and Natalie and stuff. Were a really strong team too.
Yeah.
So we were kind of looking at it from all
It's
angles.
smart.
It's very
Why-
smart.
It's smart. I mean, obviously, what they did was a huge risk. I appreciated that we saw that of them kind of thinking of alternatives, like problem solving in that moment. And I also loved hearing Adam say, like, we shouldn't do this alone. Like, I
Yeah.
think
Mhm.
that showed that their head was in it of like, we understand the risk, but if we're going to take that risk, we need to bring other teams with us that we know we're not alone and we're going to fight for last rather than just being dead last.
Yeah.
So I loved that kind of moment on the episode.
But that's super smart to stay with.
Yes, you
a
guys made the
larger
right
group.
call.
I agree. Jumping from train to train sounds super stressful.
Risky.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I mean,
we just made that mistake.
And and literally after you had just gotten off at the wrong stop, what if that happened again?
yes,
That would be
Yeah.
terrifying.
And I guess later, Jag and Joseph let us know that there were multiple trains where they were like running and just got on at the last second. What if Simone and I weren't able to run that fast? And
Yeah.
then what? So really big risk. And I think from what I understand, from what I have been told by those teams, they did go back to look for me and Simone, but they saw that me and Simone were with all of the other teams on the
Yeah.
platform, and they didn't want to call attention to the fact that they were doing something different. So they just kind of let us do our thing. They did their own thing. And I'm glad it worked out for them, but it could have so easily not.
oh
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay, I have a little story for you.
Yes, okay.
So, a long time ago. Honestly, maybe right before the race, maybe after my work, we did this. There's an LA
Oh my
race,
God, yes.
and it's just fun. You can do an event with like friends or whatever. So it was all my coworkers. They're all dance teachers. Like we're just having a good
Oh, I
time.
know where this is going. Yeah.
So you had to use the metro in LA for the whole thing. So we were on a team of I think 6, and we're on this metro train with another team of 6. We decided to fake them out and like pretend that we're gonna run off of this subway and get off at a certain stop. So we like grab our bags and we're like at the door ready to run. The other team also starts getting ready to run.
Yes.
We run off of the subway and immediately get on
Run back.
another car, and they get off and the subway leaves them.
Wait. Like for funsies?
Yes, it
Yes.
was not for money. It was
a
just
team building for your dance studio, but like
that's how competitive we are. And
Oh my gosh.
we did a little pump fake for
so
this.
future racers maybe try to do a fake out.
There you
Who
go.
knows?
Yeah, it's giving the
It's
Afghan
giving
animals.
Afghanimals. We were saying it at the same time.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Oh my gosh.
Could you
Side
imagine
note,
if somebody did that to y'all and like one team got off trying to trick everybody and then like immediately got back on?
Got
That
back
would have
on.
been wild.
You know, I'm surprised they didn't because it's a Big Brother season and we're kind of notorious for being devious.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised there wasn't more plotting and scheming.
I mean, I will say from my experience and like from my lenses as a non-Big Brother player coming into this environment, it genuinely, and I kept on saying, well, Hannah and I both kept on saying this to each other, was that the amount of like camaraderie there was just so high off the bat. Like we all bonded so quick, and everybody, like Hannah and I could genuinely name like multiple things going down the list of each pair with how they helped us out, like genuinely out of the kindness of their hearts. So I feel like throughout all our experience, everybody genuinely just wanted to like see each other do well and help each other succeed. And
Which I
so
think-
I feel like that was evident with like the train.
Which I think makes this season so different from previous like stunt castings, as like the Big Brother community, just having been to a lot of those events, like the Big Brother community, they come together always for like any type of premiere or finale viewing party. So you guys have been in these close spaces. So those relationships are easy to be developed outside of the house, outside of the show. So it doesn't surprise me that there was such a strong camaraderie among all of you, because I think in like a, let's say an all-stars of like a race situation, racers don't typically, or not typically known to like hang outside of the show once the show's over. A lot of racers just kind of go back to their daily life and routine, and then when they come back for all-stars, they already know what to expect, and they're like, now we know how to be better racers, so like we're gonna do our own thing. So I think that's what makes the Big Brother cast so interesting, is the camaraderie, because you wouldn't get that, I don't think, on a full race season.
No.
I completely
Not
agree.
that
Yeah.
quick. Not that quick, no.
Well, because we have history and we've known each other for years, and some of us have lived together, and some of us have dated each other, and some of us have broken up with each other. And there's just a lot, and I think you will consider. I think you'll continue seeing those dynamics kind of play out as the season goes on, and obviously, all of us have experienced something so unique, and there's a level of trauma bonding there too, where we get each other on a level that others don't. And you know, like Joseph, for example, has met Simone and our parents, and Kylan's met our parents, and I've met Kylan's parents. So
It goes
yeah,
deep. Yeah.
it does go deep. It does go deep. But also, Simone, you know, you pointed out like we can name a list of different moments where teams went out of their way to help us. But I do think we have to give ourselves some credit there, because you and I were aware that we were the youngest team. We're also on the smaller side. We were the second smallest team. And we know we have generally adorable personalities. And so I think Simone and I, kind of similarly to how I was perceived as like the little sister of the house on Big Brother, I think you and I were very much aware of our niche and how we fit into this ecosystem, and we really did play that up, and we had teams like kind of wanting to bend over backwards to help us, and it was so appreciated, and like whenever we could, we would help out other teams too, but like we knew what we were doing. It wasn't completely by accident.
Yes.
You have to be strategic. You have to know exactly
Absolutely.
where you fall and just take advantage of that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So we all get off at the wrong stop. Now we're separated into two groups. The rest of the night, it was seamless in the sense that there were no hiccups, but like we also had to sleep outside. It was really, really
Yes,
cold in
and then the train
Leipzig.
station floor, which was my like
Yes.
favorite memory. I think that was like the moment where I was like, we made it. We are officially racers. Like sleeping on the train station floor, and then like all of the crew just there. And again, like an example of like just a random example of a team, like just showing us kindness is like Hannah and I. You're pretty cold, in like our leggings and our t-shirts, and so even like Tucker and Eric, they took out like their clothes from their backpacks and they were like, here, like use this, like we don't need it, it's all yours, and let us like use their like pants and shirts and stuff as
So
blankets. So again, every team throughout the race did something like that, but that was just an example that came to mind
Yeah.
when talking about the train.
Yes, but it was also so funny because I, of course, was scared out of my mind. I was like, we are in a random stairwell in the middle of Leipzig, Germany. Security keeps coming around trying to kick us out. We can tell they're like foaming at the mouth to force us outside this train station. It's so cold outside. I don't know if we're ever going to get to Prague. We've been awake for like 30 something hours and everyone's trying to sleep. And I look over at Simone and she has her like sleep mask on and she's just beaming. And I was like, Simone, Simone, what are you smiling about? And she was like, I'm just so thankful for this memory. And I was like, Simone, let's first get to Prague and then we can reflect. And she was
Yes!
like, Hannah,
I
don't be
love
That was
that.
like Hannah's mantra throughout the whole thing. Is like, we haven't made it to Prague yet. Once we make it to Prague, then we can start reminiscing. And
That
I
is
feel like
Yes.
that's
hilarious.
even evident in the photos. Hannah Banana is like, you can
Yeah, I'm
tell
like,
by your faces, yeah. And I'm just like, and you're like,
yes, oh my God, I was
so good.
stressed. But also like I'm pretty competitive when it comes to these games. And Simone is like just so chill. She's always smiling. She's always optimistic. So in hindsight, that moment was very adorable. How everyone was like shivering, like kind of miserable, and Simone's like, "I'm just so thankful for this memory." As she has her sleep mask on, it was adorable.
So cute.
Yes, but
That
also
is
like
so
you were
great.
saying earlier is that like we were in a foreign country at the end of the day. We didn't know the language. It was dark out. We couldn't see anything. So rightfully so to be stressed and
Yeah.
a little bit nervous. So I could totally see.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so the rest of our journey, pretty unremarkable. We finally got on the right trains. Well, actually, we almost got off the wrong stop again. But
Well,
we
Chelsea
caught
and Jack
ourselves.
actually did.
Did, yeah, they did. We should have let them go.
No,
But
they did, but then we were all like, Chelsea, Jack, and then they gone on because we all like hadn't slept in days. We had barely eaten. Like at that point, our brains were kind of like molding
Mush.
into heads of lettuce. That they were just so like hollow, and we didn't know what was up or what was down. So it was bound to happen to one of us, but they were able to quickly get back on.
And Simone and I learned a very good lesson in that moment. If you know you're getting off at the last stop and there are still people on the train, chances are it's probably not the last stop.
Yep.
So that's why Simone and I didn't move. But Chelsea and Jack still got off, and we were like, wait a second, get back on. So we finally get to Prague, and our clue says something about taking the metro. Now, when we got our directions on the train to Prague ahead of time, Simone and I accidentally got directions for the tram. In America, there really is no, I mean, we don't have such a thing called a tram. There's the metro, there's the trolley in San Francisco, but I just had never heard that term before. I kind of assumed that the tram and the metro were the exact same thing. And the tram was outside of the train station on sea level, on ground level, whereas the metro was underground. That's their subway. And so Simone and I leave the station. I do want to say, Simone, on our train ride to get to Prague, we did sit down with the train conductor, the poor train conductor, and we were like, you're going to teach us Czech.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we did. We took out our notebook, we did the alphabet, we learned some key phrases, we asked how to translate kind of responses that we could anticipate from the questions that we knew we were going to ask. And that's why it looks like I'm having a full conversation in Czech and like I can
Wild.
speak the language. But realistically, I just knew exactly what to listen for and kind of recalibrate what I would say in response to them based on what they were telling me. So we did this for like 30 minutes and we were like, thank you so much, because I think it just wastes a lot of time when you have to try to find someone who speaks English. And if they don't speak English very well, then you have to mime things out. And
Yep.
again, if it's down to the minutes, if it's down to the seconds, me being able to speak in a language that is native to you and that you can understand, that automatically buys us some time because you don't have to pause for translation. Um, so we get out of the train station, we're on our way to the tram, and Simone, was it you who was like, let's just double check that we're on our way to the right thing? Because we didn't see any other teams.
Well, I think that from my memory at least, we walked up to the ticketing counter. And we were basically like, in a polite way, of course, just like, what's the haps? Like,
No,
what's happening right now?
First we ran completely out of the train station. We did not talk to anyone. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay, So Hannah and I, going to Prague, had looked up a map on one of the passengers on the train's phones, and we were able to, like, write it down, and so we found, and they kind of, like, included this in the episode, which I was a bit surprised. Here, I can also refresh in case the static is getting. But anyways, so we were able to write it down, map the thing, and in the episode they included us saying, is this the swirly? Like right before Hannah started talking, because our swirly on our map, which represented like this roundabout, wasn't there. And then we were like, wait, something doesn't look right. And so that's why the first person we saw, that's why Hannah started talking. And then we were like, okay, yeah, something is not adding up. Something's not making sense. And so that's when things clicked. And then you're right. That's when we went back, ran into it, asked the ticketing counter, and then they were able to clear things up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one thing that people don't understand is on the race, you really try and avoid asking for help as much as you can. That's why you do a lot of the like looking for maps, writing things down when you're sitting for a long time, because the second you ask someone on the race, the course, you do have to take a short pause to allow
Those
production,
releases,
the
yeah.
camera and sound people to have that person sign a form, which can take anywhere from like a minute to 5 minutes, depending on like what's happening. So that's why you really want to find like one person to get it out of the way, do the release, and then go. Because you don't want to have a situation where you ask someone, they don't speak English. Okay, now you have to wait for a release. You go to the next person, oh, they can't help us. Then you have to keep bouncing around. And so the strategy of like who to ask, when to ask, waiting to ask, that does play a huge part in kind of how you navigate a leg.
Absolutely. Could not have said it better myself. And Simone and I generally stuck to younger people because we felt like younger people, they would have iPhones. They would know how to use said iPhones, and they would perhaps be more inclined to speak English. But in that moment when Simone and I recognized, like, okay, something looks off, something feels off, we're not seeing any other teams outside, let's just ask the first person we see, and he happened to speak Czech. I think that's when we were like, okay, time to utilize the skills that we learned on the train.
It was amazing.
So,
I loved it. I
thank
was
you.
so proud.
Thank you.
Like,
Thank you.
so impressive. So impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Simone and I generally have a good ear. Our parents aren't from this country. Our mom speaks like 7 languages and our dad speaks 4. And so I think growing up, we were just used to maybe hearing a bunch of different tongues. And so we can kind of tap into things quickly.
Well, yes, especially Hannah. Like, a fun fact is Hannah's been speaking like fluent Spanish since she was like 13, and she still does, versus I have an appreciation for languages, but I think that Hannah's is just like next level.
You have the ear. You have the ear.
You do have good
I have
ears,
the
Simone.
ear, but maybe not the tongue to speak.
Yeah.
I'm like a solid like C minus Spanish students. I let Hannah
Okay.
do all the talking.
That's okay. That's okay. Because Simone is definitely the creative one in the family. So we all have our own strengths.
Yeah.
But okay, so we are finally on our way to the tower. We get to the tower. We read the clue. We can use, context clues to sort of suppose that it's going to have something to do with heights.
Yeah.
And that's something that we kind of learned from Will and James watching their season, because you guys would like drive up and kind of try to guess what it is that you would be doing for roadblocks. That way you could maybe send in the person who would be the most equipped to tackle that challenge. So Simone and I did learn that from Will and James, and we read that clue. We saw it was heights. Neither Simone nor myself are scared of heights, but we also know in The Amazing Race, they tend to throw in like math or memory while you're scaling things. So we were like, okay, if there's going to be some component of math, some component of memory, maybe that's just something I should do. And so we decided that I was going to do it. But the editing was weird. The editing made it seem like you said, I'm going to do
That
it.
was weird.
Like, I
Yeah.
have no recollection of saying that. So I wonder if what happened was, like, right off the bat when we got there, especially because we knew that we had to catch up, I was like, I'll do it. But then we took, like, a second after that to think, like, ooh,
Yeah.
okay, like, what if there's, like, a math component? And then I also love heights, but, like, I have a fear of bungee jumping. So I wonder if that also maybe played into it. Like, okay, like, what if we have to, like, jump off or
Yeah.
something? And then that's when we made the switch. But I thought that was interesting, too.
Yeah, that was a little strange. But it was me who did it, not Simone. So we get up there, and Izzy and Rubina are still there. Obviously, the top three teams, Jag, Natalie, and Joseph, they had already been there. We didn't see them at all during the leg because their train had gotten in about an hour and a half before ours.
Crazy.
We saw Tucker and Eric leaving the tower as we were running up to the tower, so we knew they were done. But as I said, Izzy, Rubina, and Chelsea were still there. Izzy, Rubina, and Chelsea were still there as like I was getting harnessed. And then this challenge was pretty straightforward. I mean, you just walk the plank, you sit down, you get your clue, you walk back. The platform was shaking a little as you were on top of it, and so that's why I was going slow, because I didn't want to like run, and then slip off, because there was a little bit of instability there. But I was really excited. The view was beautiful. I had been asking for a heights challenge. The air was crisp. It was magical. And also, like, if there's one thing about me and Simone, we will just make the best of any situation. Like, we're just happy to be there. So
Yes.
get the clue. And Simone, I loved in the episode when you were like, she's doing so good.
Yes.
Oh,
Loved
yeah,
that.
because... No, me and like attempting at a motivational speech is like a moth to a flame. Like, I just love it. And so I'm just constantly, like, especially in stressful times, feeding Hannah, like, you can do this, you were made for this. Remember that one time in second grade when you did the blah, 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 and that's amounting to this moment. And so right when Hannah began, that was like my cue, okay, like, speech time. And so then that's when Hannah was like, please.
I know, but it was so cute.
Concentration.
Hannah was like, Simone, no talking. So when you were like whispering, like, it's like you were still wanting to give some kind of encouragement, but also respect that Hannah was like, no talking. And then when Hannah came back, you're like, prima ballerina. Like, it was,
It was so good.
I loved
So
it.
good. Her hands beautifully.
yeah, she
Yeah.
was great. Aw.
Pointed.
Will knows. I was
She
working on
was.
it.
I know. Will was like, if I did this, I would walk down that like a catwalk. And I was like, yeah, right.
Imagine, Will, I need you and your heels. Except the heels might get
Yes.
stuck in like the
Oh my God,
little.
that would be
grating.
Oh,
Very
ooh.
That would be scary.
That would be like a race Hall of Fame moment, though. If you were able to walk in heels like stilettos without getting like caught in the holes.
I will say, Will, you might have been taller than the harness.
Oh, yeah.
They might have said They might have been
It
like...
might have been like a height or a weight thing where like you can't do it, because that happened to us twice.
Yes.
Where I
Really?
couldn't do something and then
Well, no, it was
Gary
couldn't do it because he was too
he's
heavy
Gary
for
is
them.
my height, but honestly probably weighs like he's huge, like a
big,
big old guy
yeah.
because he's a football player. There was one he couldn't do.
D'Angelo had to do the
Yeah.
roadblock walking down the side of the building because
Mm.
Gary
Yeah,
probably would not have
he
been
was not allowed to do it, which I
So
thought
I'm
was
glad I
wild.
didn't get stuck with that one. That would have
Mhm.
sucked.
Wait, but James, you're also really tall too. Aren't you like 6'3"?
6'1".
Oh, 6'1". Okay, and then Will, you're 6'6" or 6'7"?
Yeah, 6'6".
Wow. Wow.
That would have been
wow.
funny to see.
I would have just held on to the pole
You're like,
above me.
Yeah, precisely. Your entire like torso would have been on top of the.
They're like, well, you're gonna have to crawl. Unfortunately, you're too tall.
Oh. Oh
Dude,
my
sh-
gosh, I don't even want.
They should have made y'all crawl like those crawling babies on the building.
I'm surprised that they didn't.
I
I
didn't
am
even
surprised
notice
that they-
those until like watching it
Neither.
back.
They should have been like,
me
you're gonna
neither.
crawl like the babies on this building.
And we would have been like, whose babies and where are their moms? I didn't see them either.
And where
I didn't
are their
notice.
moms?
Yes, or their dads, their parents. Where are their grandparents? A guardian, anyone.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh. Okay, so we get done with the tower, super exciting. Then we make our way to that square. And Simone, you and I ran through that square maybe like 700 times that day. We got our steps in. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yes.
I still remember vividly like what that square looked like. And we saw this one guy who was like giving tours. And we were looking for the clue box. And the clue box was in a corner. But we were like, okay, it's got to be within like it's got to be visible.
Yeah.
It was pretty like occluded, but we thought it was going to be visible. So we were like, where is this clue box? And then this one guy giving tours was like, they all went that way. He misled us. He pointed us in the wrong direction. We were like,
Rude.
who paid
Rude.
you to
Rude.
mislead the Chaddha sisters? But anyway, we finally find this clue box, and Simone, do you want to take it away from here? Because at this point we were presented with a detour, and it was our first detour of the season.
Yes. So thank the good Lord above that we got presented with a memory detour and then obviously a more physical detour where we knew we would have to carry things. And so obviously with the memory that Hannah has, and then I
And you.
consider myself to have like a decent memory, especially like in times where it's like a do or die situation.
Yeah.
Like that's when I can really kick it into gear. And so we were able to get to the remember the chair pretty easily, like no qualms with like being misdirected. After we got the clue, we made sure to not
ask
trust
that
the
guy.
in case he tried to lead us again.
Yeah, and
but
we
we
apparently
made it-
wait, I'm so sorry, Simone.
no,
Apparently he
please.
was misleading teams all day.
He was a little pot.
He's shady.
You should retire.
If well,
You
thank
said
goodness
what?
he
You
wasn't
should
on the
retire.
train.
Terrible tour
Trying
guide.
to be like, oh, get off there.
I think he was just trying to make it onto the show.
Of course.
Yeah.
To be honest.
But so much for that, because he did not. So hopefully, when it comes to other teams in the future, if they ever go back, then they won't face him. But we
Yeah.
survived, and we made it to remember the chair. And right off the bat, like walking in, we see Rubina and Christine. They were the first teams that we saw, and so we were like, all right, like we're in a good spot, like we got this. And we were really using this as sort of like a bullet train challenge to really just like propel us.
Yep.
And so immediately we got to work, and Hannah, she took on, since I believe that there were either
11.
11? Okay, there were 11. And so with Hannah's memory, since it's like near / photographic, she took 6, and then I took 5, and then again, as you could see in the episode, everybody there's just walking around with like their hands over their ears. We got people making songs. We got people like having their heads down so they don't get distracted. Everybody was fully focused and just reciting each crest, like I don't even know what a comparison would be, just over and over and over
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. But I will say, okay, well, the first thing I'll say is a lot of people online, um, I think, were shocked that so many teams did remember the chair versus handle with care. Now, the clue did say that only 6 teams could do each. So that is something important to keep in mind. And also, the clue did not let us know that all 3 locations would be on the same street. It just said you would have to deliver these crates of glasses to 3 different restaurants. We didn't know how big, how heavy those crates would be. We just didn't want to risk anything physical when a memory challenge was quite literally made for Simone and myself.
Yeah.
Like, that was the one thing we knew we would be able to beat every single team in: memory and dance. And so if we're being presented with something that directly caters to our strengths, why not take it? And we also just didn't want to end up in a situation where we would get to this physical challenge, because physical challenges do tend to be a little more straightforward. And for them to say, like, sorry, all 6 teams have taken up these spots, and then we waste more time having to, make it to the memory one. But Simone, I didn't feel like Remember the Chair was that chaotic. Like, yes, there were people running around, but you and I were still just having a grand old time. We were talking to the villagers. We were smiling. We were like, how's your day going? Practicing our check, because we wanted as much practice as we could get. And they did say that Simone and I had the best pronunciation of the entire day. The villagers were like, your check is pretty good. And we were like, thank you. We've been practicing. And I think we were like the very last, no. We were the second to last team to attempt the challenge for the first time. So Izzy and Paige, they really waited. They really took their time. They wanted to make sure that they were confident. I think the other teams were like, let's just go for it and see what sticks. So Simone and I went in there after everyone had already had their first attempt, their second attempt, because we were a little late. And we got we got it wrong on our first attempt. And that was actually mine, because I mispronounced something. Instead of saying Bielcice, I think I pronounced it Bielcice. So I mixed up the C and the CH. And Simone and I were like, okay, we're pretty sure we have these crests correct, so let's just kind of drill that pronunciation one more time. Then we knew what we got wrong. We went back on our second attempt. We got it, and we were the first team to leave Remember the Chair. Despite getting there in 8th, we shot up to 4th. Yeah. So, Simone, you and I would say, had a pretty good leg. And something that you and I were very intentional about was, after that train debacle, we were then recommitted to just focusing on ourselves as a team. And Will and James, is that a lesson that you guys learned pretty early on? Is that something that took you a while to learn, or did that just come naturally to you?
I think we were always very focused on us and doing whatever was in front of us and kind of, I don't know, tuning out the other teams and what they were doing as much as we possibly could. I think we understood our strengths, and it was always us against the task. We just had to do the task. But I do think it took us longer to realize how much detail some tasks required. And I think watching other people do things helped it click with us that, maybe we should just pay a little more attention to the subtle details on a challenge, especially like a memory challenge. Because it seemed like you two and Paige and Izzy were the only team that really noticed the nuance between, obviously the race is going to try and trick you. But y'all, it clicked really quickly for those two teams to see that, this is gold, this is silver. I know that I need this one, and the little subtle changes between the crests. I think y'all are the only two that noticed it quickly. That took us a little longer.
Okay, but you guys were also perfect in every other way, so.
It took a minute.
Everyone has to have one flaw, just one.
And you also want to learn these things early on in the race. I think with y'all's train debacle, I think it really is a healthy adversity to have at the very beginning, because now moving forward, I need to pay attention to these details that I didn't before.
Well, the same goes for leg 1 with Kat and Alex with the wardrobe. In time, but even during this detour, I loved when Turner tried to stop Kat to kind of like work on the pronunciation over it. And Kat's like, I'm just really busy trying to memorize
Yeah.
and like brush up on her, because that's like what you kind of have to do. Like
Yeah.
in those moments when it is kind of neck and neck with the teams, like it's really you and your partner versus the task. You don't really have
Yeah.
time to worry about the other teams and what they're doing, because then that could kind of trip you up too.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I love talking to other teams about their experiences, just to see like what it is that they learned, what was the biggest culture shock. Lord knows Simone and I had so many culture shocks. Again, just very humbled throughout this entire experience. The Amazing Race is hard. My God. Okay.
It's hard.
So it's so hard, you guys, so hard. And I have a feeling I know what the episode title will be for a later episode in the season, because I think it's going to be something to do with medicine, because I constantly say it during, you know what I'm talking about, Simone. I'm not going to reveal anything, but essentially it's me kind of likening the Amazing Race to medicine, but saying that the Amazing Race is harder. Like medical school is a walk in the park.
That's
Race.
funny. That's really
So,
funny.
I have a feeling I know what one of the episode titles will be, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So Simone and I, we leave in 4th place, and then Tucker and Eric leave pretty much right behind us. Now they had taken longer to get that detour done, but they had gotten there before us, and so they left maybe within like 5 to 10 minutes of us. Their legs are so long, guys, and because they had already been to that very last clue box, they knew exactly where to go.
Yes.
And they knew they were aware that they knew where to go, and they were also aware that Simone and I were not the fastest runners. And so when people are like, and they still stopped for magnets and for ice cream, it's because they knew they had nothing to worry about with Simone and I, running.
And Bionic.
But it is the confidence of knowing like where, like they already kind of had that advantage of knowing, because they already went to the pit stop.
They
like,
knew the clue box and the pit stop.
Yeah.
They didn't have to worry about trying to find.
Did they even have to go to that clue box again?
They did. They had to go
They
and
did.
like, touch
Okay,
it.
okay.
Touch it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
So
then go to the
like
thing.
they knew exactly where to go, and they also knew that like Simone and I would have to account for stopping for directions and having to find it, and then having to stop for directions again to get to Zophin's Palace. But even still, like they got to the mat, they were rushed off, and immediately Simone and I got there, so we were still neck and neck with them.
Yeah.
I think they said probably within 10 minutes, because they were still there.
I can't wait
exactly.
next week's episode with the timestamps to just see the check-in times. 'Cause
Yeah.
that'll be a tell to see how close everyone was checking in.
Yes. So anyway, we go to the last clue box. Then we know we need to get to Zophin's Palace. Then we get to Zophin's Palace. Phil tells us we're in 5th. So we're like, okay, we're moving up in the pack.
Yeah.
We started
We
out.
activated.
We started out in 10th place when we had that like express pass challenge, and then we moved up to 7th place, and then we moved up to 5th. So we were like, okay, this is a good trajectory. We're performing well. We're learning about how we operate along the way, and I feel like that is the most critical thing. We're aware of our strengths. We're aware of our weaknesses. We feel like we're playing a decent social game. Teams want to help us, but I don't think they're looking at us as threats, even though we finished this Remember the Chair challenge faster than anyone else did. So that was pretty much our leg. Now, a couple things I want to talk about is Simone and I choreographed a dance for every single pit stop, and they haven't showed it. What?
That makes me so sad.
I feel like that'll come in at some point. It'll show. They'll probably show, because they show Rabina and Christine's like little orangey
Orange
lad.
Yes, I know.
Which is so
I'm sure he is.
I know. Yeah, but I mean, like, come on, like, we worked hard on having a little cute thing, too. And each time, they would have us refilm it about, like, 3 times to get different angles, like, of our feet, of our legs, of our arms. And so we were pretty confident that would make it in, and we just did it as, like, a tidbit to, like, look back on, like, oh my gosh, I forgot that was the dance move that we did.
What they should do is scale back the amount of times we heard "Let's go" to give us the time to see you dance at the pit stop.
That's what I'm saying.
If
I hear-
split it up.
If I hear "Let's
No.
Go" one more time,
And it's always the all male teams. And even back at the hotel, Simone and I would be trying to sleep. Let's go next to us. We're like, go where? Go to sleep. Let's go to
Go
sleep.
where?
Go to sleep.
we'll
Unless we maybe missed something. Are we racing now? And meanwhile, Simone and I are just in bed. Yes. So, and like we even taught Phil some ballet, and then Phil would like kind of take it upon himself to make up his own dances, and he would like find me and Simone.
Phil is a trained ballet dancer.
Oh.
Well, not
Yeah.
really. He signed up for ballet classes so he could meet women.
He still would go to the class, but he would always like come in, or like every time he would come to the mat, he would either be in like first position, which is for all the non-dancers watching this, it's where you just have your feet
Your
turned out
heels
like this.
together, yeah.
And then he would be in fifth position, where you essentially exactly just have one foot in front of the other, and his turnout is phenomenal. And so he
Yeah.
would always be like, "Look at me go, girls."
I
Yes.
love Phil.
But
He's
then
the
Phil
best.
would be like, "Girls, am I a dancer just like you?" And I don't know, he would have these like kind of strange dances for us. But we would like,
Like,
We need to
there was
release the footage.
yes, there was this one
Release it.
time where we like walked past him and he was sitting down, and then he was just like, "Girls," just
You're
like
like,
shimmying like crazy.
you're
We're
like,
like,
"Good job, Phil,
"Wow."
bye."
we were like, "Don't send us home, Phil. That is the best dancing we've ever seen. We have never seen you and Michael Jackson in the same room." No, Phil, listen, if there's one thing about Phil, Phil loved dancing with the Chaddha sisters.
That
I love
is
it.
so cute.
But I guess that's kind of it for our journey. Were there moments from other people's journeys that really stuck out to you guys? Because this is technically supposed to be an episode 2 recap, and we just haven't recapped any of the other teams. Sorry.
No, the one thing I'll say about Tucker and Eric, I do think that the chaos, like running the leg is one thing, but I think adding additional chaos to your journey, like ice cream magnets, missing a clue, I think it can really, in the future, honestly have like an impact. We saw in Jen and Keisha when they went to the bathroom in their original season, it was what cost them their race was going to the bathroom on the way to the pit stop. And so those types of things, if they get too comfortable, it does make me nervous because they're a strong team and they can continue this like cocky mindset of like, oh, we can stop for ice cream or whatever it is. That makes me nervous for them. Like, don't get too comfortable that you think you can do that all the time.
I do hope at some point throughout the season, you know, obviously we're a big advocate for teams working together if it's not against the rules, and obviously the camaraderie is there, but I am hoping that everyone at some point starts to realize you can't help certain teams on the race.
Yeah.
And when I want to give Jag and Jazz some credit, because even though they were kind of running alongside Natalie and Stephanie and Joseph and Adam, they didn't wait for them at the detour.
Yeah.
Like they
kept
proceeded,
going.
and like that's the mindset to have. Like it's like work when you can with those people, but at the end of the day, it's still a race, and so you need to put your team first.
Try not to wait.
And so I do think that there needs to be some point where everyone needs to start breaking off from each other and be mindful of who they're helping and when they're helping.
I do think this leg was kind of an anomaly, though, because I think all of you knew that there were 4 teams at the very back of the pack.
Oh, that's different.
And I think that impacted how you all ran this leg. I knowing that you're technically not going to go home unless you really mess up.
Yeah.
I don't know. It makes it more fun, but also you can kind of work together. Because we saw the bottom 4, they did not help each other. They really kind of zoned in and did it.
They said like, let's get to the tower, but then it was like
just to see if
game
it's just
on
us
from
4,
that
and if
point.
it is, whatever. I think, I think that urgency will really force you to not want to help anybody. But that just didn't happen because of the breakdown of where everybody was.
Yes. And I just have like a couple responses to that, because you guys definitely hit it right on the nose. Because we knew that there were four teams behind us. We knew that there was insulation.
Yep.
And so, correct me if I'm wrong, Simone, but we were kind of like, let's help each other so that we can.
Oh,
Oh, sorry, can you guys hear me?
yeah,
Yeah.
now we can.
Okay, sorry. Let's help each other out so that we can maintain that distance and that separation
Yeah.
between us and the teams behind us until there's an equalizer leg.
Yep.
So our thought process was kind of like, let's just let them keep getting picked off,
Yep.
which sounds so Hunger Games-esque. It sounds very morbid, but
Gotta do what you gotta do.
gotta do what you gotta do. And in terms of Tucker and Eric, I mean, I don't know why they chose to share that they stopped for ice cream and magnets. It's one thing to stop for ice cream and magnets because, again, like there are four teams behind us. You guys aren't going home. You know where the clue box is.
Yeah.
You know where the pit stop is. Simone and I are not the fastest runners. So, like, you're going to be able to maintain your fourth place lead. But at the same, and like, there are enough teams left for you to be able to play a little riskier, and that is exactly how Tucker played Big Brother. He was risk it for the biscuit all the way. That is just his style. Why tell other teams that? Because as soon as I heard that from them, I immediately was like, yeah, I knew they were strong. Those two are threats.
Yep.
And if there is a chance to U-turn a team, instead of looking at Jag and Jazz, who have gotten first place for the last two legs,
Yeah.
maybe we should be looking at Tucker and Eric. I
Yep.
don't know.
Part of me wonders if it's because, so since Hannah and I had gotten there like moments after they had,
Mhm.
and you can even see how during their mat talk with Phil, they had the ice cream in hand. By the time Hannah and I had finished our mat talk with Phil, they still had their ice cream in their hand. Like, they hadn't finished the ice cream. So I wonder if maybe they would have been like, well, like, the evidence is still here.
Mhm.
And so, like, they wanted to just, like, come forth with it, maybe rather than having us speculate, like, where did those ice cream cones come from?
Yeah.
I don't know. They told all of the teams, literally
Yeah,
all
that
of them,
is true.
that they were like, guys, we stopped for ice cream and we got magnets and we still ended up in fourth. I was like, why would you tell people that?
Yeah.
Am I missing something? Or do these games work differently in 2025 than they did back in 2021? Because back in my day, no, I'm just kidding. Back in my day,
They are risky, and I
very.
think it can
And I
pay
think that
off,
could cost
but it
them.
also makes me nervous.
I
That's
think-
just like not how I would do it.
No.
We'll
I
get
think that
magnets
level-
when we're at an airport and we actually have the
Which is
time.
what we did. See,
Yeah.
we have a bunch.
Right. Or, you get the
Gosh.
magnets after you win the million.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also,
There you
those
go.
were all from the race?
No.
We have them sprinkled
Oh,
through,
I was
but
like, whoa.
we made a point to get a magnet from most of the countries we visited along
Yeah.
the way. So,
Aw.
yeah.
I love that. See, that's how
Yeah.
it should be, and I do fear that cockiness might end up costing them. Or I don't want to call them cocky, but just that level of comfort in the race.
Risk.
Like, oh, we're so comfortable that
Yeah.
we can afford to take all these risks. I think that might come back to bite them. So,
Underestimating
Well,
the other
we will
teams.
need an equalizer because that's when it
Yeah.
really push comes to shove. Because when all the teams are on an equal playing field, like you don't have the time to make those type of risky moves. But
No.
when everything's kind of spaced out like it has been from the first leg, like you can kind of afford to.
So I am curious for the two of you. You check into the pit stop. What did your post-leg ritual
Oh yes,
kind of entail when you went to the hotel room? If you were in a hotel room, what was like Simone and Hannah? What were y'all doing?
I love this.
I love this question.
Wait, I am so sorry, but before I answer this question, my laptop is almost about to die, and I completely forgot to put it on charge, which again, so unprofessional on my end. Is it okay if I quickly grab it?
Grab it.
Fine, yeah.
Go ahead, Simone. I can start it. So, as you guys know, you would be so exhausted after running a leg, especially with us taking trains this season. We would be up for about 40 hours, and then they would take us back to the hotel. And so I think the only thing on our minds was like, we're hungry and we're tired. So we would take a little nap. Well, we would shower first.
Yeah.
We would take a little nap. We would get up. We would eat. And then Simone and I would debrief.
Yep.
So we would talk through every little decision that we made. We would talk through every blunder, every moment where we shined and we did well, things we noticed from other teams. We had like almost a hit list of like, okay, who do we think we can trust? Who do we kind of want to get rid of? If there's a U-turn coming up, who do we feel good about? What are other teams doing well? What are other teams not doing well? What alliances can we maybe forge?
Yep.
So Simone and I would run through this every single night.
But so sorry to interrupt. It was also hard because we would talk about like who we trust and who we don't trust for forever because we genuinely just felt so close to everybody.
Right, right.
And so
Yes.
it was like hard.
It was hard, but
Yeah.
I think for me, as someone who has done this before, it is easier to
Exactly.
separate my personal relationships
Absolutely.
from my game relationships with people because Simone and I loved everyone on the cast on a personal level. But obviously, there are some teams that you just feel and you sense you can trust more than others. And so that's kind of what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on a human level, we loved everyone. I think that goes without saying. Simone and I had no drama this season. Yeah. And then, Simone, how would we end our night, every single night?
Yes. We okay, so basically speaking of this leg, so in Prague, well, we love every single hotel and we're so grateful and lucky that we even got to experience those hotels. But with this one, they had little to no American TV or just TV in English in general, except they had this one channel for music videos. It was kind of like an MTV, like TRL type vibe. And so literally for a couple days, because after we got done with this leg, we stayed in that hotel one more. Oh, sorry, wait.
I just wouldn't reveal where we go next because they haven't announced that.
Oh, true. Oh, I was going to say after this leg, we stayed in the hotel one more day.
Okay.
And we had like downtime. Should I say it again for like continuity?
No, that's okay. I don't think Big D's gonna cut this out.
Oh no!
Honestly, just clicks upload. Like
Yes. Well, yes. So after this leg, we stayed in Prague for one more day at that specific hotel, and again, obviously, without any access to technology, without any access to leaving the hotel room, we would still watch this music video channel. And so we were learning like Italian songs. We were learning
Portuguese.
Yes, Portuguese songs. And then by the end, because they were played on a loop, we knew them by heart. And then we actually discovered that they do have MTV. And so like there was one like session where they had like a Christina versus Britney, and I was just living my best life. I was like,
so
oh
fun.
my gosh, this is just what we need, because Britney Spears is literally like my favorite
I love.
in the entire world. And so even like Hannah was in the shower, and then I was like, oh my gosh, Hannah, they're having like a marathon with Britney and Christina. And then she was like, I know, I could hear you from the showers. So a lot of music videos.
Yeah.
For sure.
That is.
Lots of music videos, but also there was like a sports competition, and there were like athletes from all over the world, and so we used that as an opportunity to study our flags.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that was another thing we did, but like we mostly just stuck to the dancing and the music videos. And then Tucker and Eric were next door, and Eric was training for the Boston Marathon the entire time we were on the race. I know, crazy. Because they're bionic. They're actually robots.
Right.
They're good at everything. It's very annoying. Love them, but it's very annoying.
Oh my god.
So we would just hear Eric like pacing back and forth, getting his miles in his little hotel room, and then we would hear Tucker be like, "Let's go!" every hour, like clockwork. And then we would hear like Motown's greatest hits, and we'd be like, "What is Tucker doing listening to Motown?" Like we were just so confused. But also, they would always put us next to each other at every hotel. So we were like, what are the Deloriers up to?
Wait, that's.
They
And
got such a kick
yes,
out of them.
also speaking of them being bionic, there was another time where we were about to run a leg and they're just doing like leg holds. And like
Yeah, wait,
they're also contortionists, and so like Hannah say, like we
yeah,
love them, but it's annoying how they're literally perfect at
at
everything, and we're
everything.
not.
Yeah, because Simone and I would always lead stretch classes and like aerobics classes, stretching classes. We would do cheerleading. It would be like 4 o'clock in the morning. We're on a train. Everyone's tired. And Simone are like,
Oh my god! Oh my god!
wait, I'm sorry. And Simone and I would just like, we were always high energy, always just there for a good time. And Tucker and Eric were like, what are you guys doing? And we were doing like leg holds and stuff like that. And they'd be like, let's try it. Perfect leg holds the first time. We'd be like, "Huh, are you so good at everything?"
Like
But
his
also at the
like
same time,
flexible.
yes,
That is
both very
No,
flexible.
extremely flexible.
that is
Yeah, and like great
wild.
balance as well.
But then at the same time, we were like, why would you divulge this with everyone?
Yeah.
Act like you're bad at something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of like called more attention to them being a super, super strong team. But the last thing I will say is Angela and Turner, they were the bottom two teams. It was interesting to me how Angela and Lexi finished Remember the Chair
Yeah.
first, and they decided to wait for Turner and Megan. And I guess like the difference in them arriving to the mat was less than 5 minutes. So if they
Yeah.
had just gone, maybe they would have still been in the race. I don't know what happened there.
Did
Someone,
they
do you know?
intentionally wait? Because I couldn't tell if they were like getting their pack situated before taking off, and then Turner and Megan just came out being like, "We finished," and they were all like, "Oh," and then they kind of ran from there together. Yeah, I don't. We didn't really ask Angela and Lexi
But I
that.
feel like when we talked to them, I think she did say that it was very quick. Like they were trying to figure
Oh,
out
that's
what
what it
to
was.
do,
Yes,
and within a matter of a couple seconds after they got out there,
they got it really quickly
they
after.
were quickly behind them. So, yeah, I don't think
Okay.
it was a long wait. I think it was like they got out there. Where do we go? And then they came
Yeah.
out.
Okay. Gotcha. That makes sense. That makes more sense to me because I was like, why wouldn't you just go?
Absolutely.
But
Just run.
okay. So I mean, it's unfortunate that because of the train timing, one of those four teams was just gonna go home.
Yeah.
And it ended up being Angela and Lexi. Angela and Lexi were super fun to race with. I love the bond that they share as mother and daughter. I do wish we would have gotten more time with them, more interface with them. But we have since caught up with both Angela and Lexi after the race, and both of them are gems and fun and wild. And I look forward to continuing to build memories with them.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you would say, Simone?
Oh, I would say 100%, and we even got the chance to go to Horror Nights at Universal with them just the other night, and so I feel like that was also a great chance to get to know them as well, especially in such a casual setting. But they're both great, have personalities that are larger than life, but also like
Right.
hearts of gold for sure.
Yeah.
No, like literally Angela, there doesn't even have to be music playing, and she'll just be like breaking out into dance,
Yeah.
and then everybody will be like, "Go Angela, and she'll be like.
Angela.
I love that. She's so
So
funny.
She's
they're
so
both
fun.
too cute. Yes.
I will say it was like as a Big Brother super fan myself, it was surreal getting to do this season because you had like Enzo is my favorite Big Brother player of all time. Enzo and Devon. And so to be able to run this race with Enzo and also to be able to run this race with Natalie and Kat and then all of the people who have come after me, even getting to run this race with Kyland, to get to do another TV show with him, it was so special. And then on top of that, to bring my sister into the fold and for other people to get the opportunity to bring their loved ones and for all of us to connect. And I loved it so much. So much.
I love watching all of you.
Yeah.
I think we've met everybody before they did the race. And just seeing everybody in like a different way, a different setting, and a setting that we've experienced and we love, I think is so fun to watch, especially with all of the loved ones. It's so entertaining, but it's also like great television to see kind of everybody like make mistakes and learn from them. And I don't know, the herd mentality of this episode to me was so entertaining, even if it was very stressful for all of you. So So yeah, I'm having so much fun, and I think knowing the both of you before it's beyond. Like, I'm your biggest fan. Like, I love the two of you, and just y'all's dynamic on the show. It's my favorite.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
guys.
we love you guys. Like,
Yes.
we genuinely second everything you guys said right back at ya.
Yes. Yes. No, you guys have been such a big part of just our journey before the show, our journey during the show, the things that we learned from watching you, and our journey after the show. We just always feel the love and support from you too, and so we cannot thank you enough. And we hope you guys know that we are just as much in your corner as you guys are in ours.
We
Absolutely.
love y'all, and we cannot wait to see how the rest of the season plays out. And of course, rooting for you both every step of the way.
Aw.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Any last thoughts about this episode or what you guys are hoping to see in the future?
Yeah,
I'm waiting for this dance challenge to pop up.
because we see in a preview you guys do this, like, you really hit your mark.
Literally.
Yeah, I can't wait for a dance
I
challenge.
cannot wait.
I'm excited that it's becoming. I saw the ratings come out, and like, there's obviously a lot of positive numbers there, and so I'm excited for people to keep tuning in. I know that there's some harsh critics about it being a Europe season, but I'm like, forget about it being a Europe season, like, because this is what the race is, and we're just after this episode with the chaos of the train station, like, it reminded me so much of old school Amazing Race, which I feel like previous seasons have lacked in, and so I'm excited to see more of those stressful, chaotic moments. And at the end of the day, at the core, it's still the Amazing Race, and I cannot wait to see how it all unfolds. I just hope we get an equalizer moving forward.
Soon.
We need it.
I did not want an equalizer, I will say, because we were in a good spot. We were in a really good spot.
Fair.
Simone, any last thoughts from you?
No last thoughts from me before our rapid fire. Ooh.
Okay, our last segment, and then we'll let you guys go.
Should we get into it?
I'm excited.
Let's do it.
All right. Okay. Would you guys rather, for just one leg, would you rather eat one herring each, or would you each rather eat 50 beignets?
Oh, 50
Jesus.
beignets. No, I'm just kidding.
Really?
I'm gonna say the herring.
I was gonna say, in terms of timing, it would need to be the herring.
Beignets are really hard to eat fast because it's so much dough.
Speak
It's
for
like
yourself, baby.
powdered sugar and dough.
I just did the cake.
Like, I had what, 4, you had 2. So speak for yourself. So probably the herring.
Okay.
Answer. Okay, I guess for each of you guys, would you rather do the individualized hotel room, or would you each rather do the top model house or the challenge house?
Oh, a hotel room.
A hotel room. The top model house was like, after about halfway, it was just like dirty. It was so just gross.
And just being in a space like that, like, the challenge house was fun, but there was never really time to kind of have a private moment to yourself.
Yeah.
Where what I appreciate with the race, when the leg's done, you have time to process and not be on camera to actually process things. And I think that is kind of a luxury. So I would say hotel room any day.
Also, give me room service.
Oh yeah, I want to
Give
be
me a
pampered.
robe.
Give me the robe. Yes. Like,
Robe. The
Literally.
slippers.
every hotel room, we're like, is there a robe? Is there a robe? Because we didn't want to wear our dirties, and we didn't want to dirty more clothes, and so the robe was the way to go.
I love hotel.
Yeah,
Yes.
same.
Okay, no, us too. Okay, would you guys rather, for a whole 2 hours, play a beat on the bong, or what was that
The drums.
instrument called?
The
The drums that they did
So, yeah.
in Trinidad.
Yeah.
Yes. Would you
Drum.
guys rather play that straight for an hour, or would you guys rather try to balance glasses on your heads going up and down for an hour straight?
Oh, glasses on our heads.
Glasses on our heads, for sure.
Oh.
Really?
Wait,
The
we're loving
issue-
these answers.
Yeah, the issue with the steel drums is you would learn it and the numbers were on it. And then when you went to go play it in front of the judge, the numbers were not on it. And so it was hard. It was really, really hard. Like, if you made me do like a really long song, it would have taken me days.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just like
That's fair.
the
But give
bottle
me a
thing,
bottle. I'll do
it's
that.
such an iconic challenge from the show. Like I would rather do that time and time again.
It was fun. I would have loved to. If maybe you will, but I think y'all would devour that challenge.
We should teach them next time we're together.
Oh yeah, let's do
Next
it.
time we're
Yes.
watching an episode together, let's just put some wine
Please.
bottles on our head and call it.
Yes.
Well, no, our mom, after that challenge, our mom was like, you guys better practice like
Yes, so we literally would walk around the house with like stuff on our heads.
That is so
No
good.
lie. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good
Uh,
answer. Oh, sorry. Okay, would you guys rather? And I mean, it looked hard. Like I can barely walk in a pair of heels, let alone run in a pair of heels. So would you guys rather run a mile in a pair of heels, or would you rather run for 2 hours straight on like sneakers?
Oh, I'm running in heels for a mile.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, how was that? Like, was it hard? Like,
I
did you
loved
break
it. The
an ankle?
issue was
Yours were fine. Your heels
mine
were fine.
fit. Mine fit fine.
So they didn't have large sizes,
No.
and so I had to like cram my feet, and they didn't fit all. Like my heel was not in the shoe.
Even watching Gary run in those heels was hilarious.
That's
Like,
the only reason it was hard is because the shoes were too small. If they fit, I would
Oh,
have
I'm
been
sprinting.
Sprinting.
Oh, 100%. Well,
my
like,
gosh.
again, you guys saw in, like, the first 10 seconds of the episode, like, I can't run without falling flat on my face in my regular, like, tennis shoes. So, again, like, hats off to you guys for being able to, like, run in heels.
Yes, absolutely. And Simone kept falling for some reason.
Yeah, I just can't run, period.
It would be so funny though, because we would be running, and then I would look behind, and I'd be like, "Where did my sister go?"
You poor
Oh
thing.
my gosh!
Exactly. All right, 2 more questions left.
Okay.
Okay, would you rather for like the whole race take place in extremely tropical, like humid, hot weather, like in the Caribbean, or would you rather with layers have it take place in a really, really cold place like Kazakhstan?
I would definitely say
Tropical.
tropical. Humid, hot, anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The layers to me was really obnoxious because made the bag heavier.
Yep.
And also
We only-
sometimes, so I don't know what happens on your season, but if there was snow and you ran in snow, things would get wet.
Yes.
And that
Such a pain.
was nasty and
Yeah.
just like soaking wet, cold clothes. I hated that.
Yeah, I'd rather you move quicker with lighter clothes, so I would take
Give me
tropical.
some shorts and a
Yeah.
tank top. I'm
Call it a
running.
day.
I agree with you. Now, I will say we filmed March going into April, and so thankfully it wasn't like winter
Yeah.
freezing temperatures. But I think there's nothing worse on this planet than being tired, cold, and
Yes.
hungry. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would do the same as well. And our last question is, where would you guys go? Also, love the eyebrows. Wait, I love that. I actually have to
Bill's
learn how to do
eyebrow.
that.
He can do the browsy. Yep.
Look at Hannah.
Eyebrow.
Yes.
This is good
This
too.
eyebrow. Little.
Listen, I've been practicing.
I love it.
Exactly.
Will, that was so good. Your eyebrow was all the way up there.
I mean, you're just missing 2 letters, and then you have Phil. We haven't seen.
That's
Oh, but I
funny.
mean, I guess we have seen Will and Phil in the same room before. But you guys both got this eyebrow mastered. But okay, yeah. So where is one place that you both haven't gone in the world that you would love to go? Just like a bucket list place.
For me, it's New Zealand. I really want to go to New Zealand.
That's what Enzo said when we asked him in the rapid fire.
That's like always been one of my top places to go. That and Ireland. Those are my 2 top destinations, I would say.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I would say Vietnam or Tanzania.
Oh, okay.
Very good answers to
Yeah.
both of you.
And what about you, Simone? Where would your dream destination be? Let's say outside of Europe because we don't want to spoil
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
rest of the season.
Good thinking, good thinking. I would love to go to either Madagascar
Mm.
or probably Tunisia.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. I would either, I have a couple. I would either want to go to India, where our dad's from, South Africa, where our mom's from, Peru, or somewhere in North Africa, whether that be like Morocco or
Mm,
Egypt.
oh, Morocco would be good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys are
Egypt
so
would be cool too.
lucky.
Okay.
Wait,
No, they didn't
my
go to
friend, how
Morocco in
long
their
were?
Go to
season.
Africa.
No,
Oh, wait, you didn't?
no, not on our season. No, we thought after Europe, we thought after
Oh,
Europe we would go south, and then when we ripped open
yeah.
our and it said Kazakhstan, we were like,
Yeah. We
oh,
went we
The
went
opposite of
South
South.
America, back up, and stayed up the rest
yeah,
of the time.
Yeah. It was
Okay.
season 30 that went to Morocco with Jessica and Cody.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's
Mhm.
right. And then I remember season 31. They went
Mhm.
to Africa, but I don't remember where they went.
They
Uganda.
went to,
I think
yeah,
Uganda. Yes, that's
yes.
right.
Yes, with the
Oh my gosh.
Rolexes.
Okay, so I
Like
don't
with
know why they stopped going to Africa for your guys' this season because they were on a roll. 30, 31.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we'll see it make a comeback.
Ooh. Okay, so season 40 All Stars. This is gonna be our final two right now.
Yes.
trust, yes.
Oh my goodness. And then well, I guess those are the rumors, and I can't confirm or deny anything, but some of the people on our season being like, "Oh yeah, we've been hitting up producers all day every day about All Stars." And I'm like, "Guys, this is already a special season. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
none of us are getting anyway."
I would not be surprised if we saw one of y'all's teams come back for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, well then in that case, Phil, if you're watching this, you know what to do.
We'll
Virtual
give you free ballet lessons, free privates, we swear.
Mhm.
Free ballet lessons.
Yes, for a lifetime's warranty. Um,
That is so good.
Okay, thank you so much, Will and James, for being here. We love you guys, and stay tuned for our next episode. Bye. Like, subscribe, and comment.
Bye.